Welcome everyone. G'day Aaron.
Hey David, how you doing today? On this hot afternoon here and that cold afternoon, morning over there.
Yeah, I was just talking to Aaron. We're having our coldest 4 days or 5 days ahead of us for 20 odd years for this time of year, and it's I think we're going to be 13, 14 degrees Celsius, which I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's probably around about high 50s or something like that. But I was just laughing with Aaron because I know with Jim saying how cold it gets there, all the Aussies, it's like the end of the world because it's going to be that cold for the next few days. And compared to Europeans and stuff, it's not that cold at all. But it's like Armageddon. Everyone's saying stay inside, don't go out. You know, it's dangerous.
I love the cold. Unfortunately, I live in a very hot place.
Yeah, it's very hot there. You were saying you had to put the
I
fan
have
on
to
this
keep the
morning.
fan on, so I had to put this on unless you was hearing that mic, the wind hitting the mic, so hopefully this will work out.
Have you ever thought about putting the ducted like I've got, which is the recycling air conditioner in the room, or it's not possible in there?
It is, but never got around to it, I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know.
because I love
have
that.
I do have a portable one that I did use in here for a while, but I have to, like, it comes with this kind of like a dryer
Oh yeah, I've got that
tube
for
thing,
my bedroom.
and then it's up
Yeah.
there, and I just have to get
Yeah.
around to it, basically.
Oh, Long Rider's already given a donation. Thank you so much, Long Rider. Really
Cool,
appreciate
thanks.
it. That was great. Yeah, because I've got a reverse cycle in this studio part here and also in the studio as well, and it's really quiet. Like it's actually just above me, and you can't hear it at all. It's actually a really good one.
Yeah, I mean, I can do it, but just got to get around to it, and I should because I'm sweating right now.
Especially if it's hot all the time there.
Yeah, 24/7. Actually, in the winter, it's hot, but it's not like scorching hot like right now.
Yeah. So let's just quickly go over just to see who's in the chat before we start the live show over here. So thank you so much for that donation there, Long Rider. We've got Jamie has said morning, everyone. Casper's here as well. Gilbert's
Gilbert.
here. Hogwarts here as well. Greetings from captivity in South Ontario, Canada. I love it. MJ's here as well. Jamie's saying not sure. They're just talking to each other, so that's fine. Who else have we got?
Tiny Jones, is that what that says?
Yep.
MJ Adams.
Richard Collins is here.
Richard, hi.
Richard said
Sizzle
it's a great
Man.
time to hit thumbs up. Thank you so much, Richard. It would be a good time.
I'll do it right now as well.
Yeah, Basil said first. Gilbert said some good subjects. We have got some good subjects to go through tonight. Actually, I'm looking forward to it. What else
What's
have we
up,
got?
Anthony?
Anthony here said, "G'day, Bacchus." That's because I live in Bacchus Marsh. Ben's here as well. Ben lives just down the road from me as well.
Barry.
Who else? Anthony was there. Sizzle Man, Jamie Jones, Barry Street.
Media.
Is it
John Burnett.
Sashant, I think it is. Ike's here.
Hey, Ike. How you
Michelle
doing?
is here as well.
Julian.
Gilbert said that's hot for us, David, here in northern UK. That's why I'm saying it's funny, Gilbert, because it's like Armageddon here.
What's up, guy?
Oh, I love it.
Carol, how you doing, Carol?
Brett's here as well.
Javier. I don't know if I'm repeating people.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway,
Aaron Jones,
Carol,
love that
Javier.
first name, bro.
Wow, we've
Alex.
got a good setup. We've got a
Langston.
lot of people here, Aaron.
Yeah, Colin. Oh my gosh, how do you say that? Branalita?
Yeah, is it Brunelita? Yeah, something like that. I think it would be
John.
Brunelita. And
I'm
Dave
terrible
as
names,
well.
and I can barely see this iPad
that's all
mini
right.
thing here.
So we got a stack here. So we got
John?
some interesting
John?
things, Aaron, because
Yeah.
we're going to start. If you don't want to watch the whole show, there will be a timeline down below, so you can watch that if you don't want to sort of watch everything. So that's fine. You can skip to the timeline later on if you're coming in later. We've got a story that we're starting out today is going to be talking about the new Sony rumor. I thought, look, I will talk about this again on Friday's show, but I thought I was going to discuss the Canon R5 today with Aaron anyway, because I wanted to sort of get a video perspective about Aaron. This show normally isn't just hardware, but we're trying to make this show more in sort of teaching and things like that. Like today, we've got a couple of great topics about Catchlights and also about waveforms and other things. But I wanted to get Aaron's perspective on the R5, and we can also talk about the rumor that there's going to be a Sony announcement coming up as well. So we can talk about that too. But what I wanted to talk about first was that there's a Sony Alpha rumors this morning, Aaron, and I'll bring this up so we can see it. Has brought up this rumor to say that Sony registered a new high-end E-mount camera in Asia. Now, they're guessing that that's what it is. And the reason why they're guessing that's what it is because down here they're saying it's got 5.1 gigahertz Wi-Fi capability. Is something you expect from the high-end Sony cameras. Now, there is a possibility they could put that in an RX or something. I mean, we don't know, but they're saying they believe it's a high-end camera. Now, there is an announcement on the 30th of this month, but they're predicting it's going to be the Cine lenses and gear in that announcement. But I'm just wondering whether, and I'm going to go through these specs in a second, Aaron, because there's not much more to say about the Sony announcement at this stage, except for I hope that that's true and I'm excited about it. Hopefully there'll be more. I can talk about that on Friday. But I did want to talk about the Canon EOS R5 with you because from a videographer's perspective about what this camera potentially could have. Now, I do believe that this camera is going to be released as its spec now because I don't think there's been some arguments on YouTube all over the place that people are saying that they think it's just Canon doing marketing, but it would be the most stupid thing Canon have ever done because if they don't release this after saying all this sort of stuff they're promoting, they're going to be made fools of. So, but anyway, let's talk about the specs because I'll go through these and then I'd love your opinion about it. It's saying that it's a newly developed full-frame CMOS sensor. So because it's newly developed as well, they may have been able to improve the dynamic range. The dynamic range of the Canon cameras has been lacking a little bit compared to the Sony and the Nikon cameras. Have you ever dealt with looking at that from the Canon perspective, Aaron, or you haven't? I know
it's a little bit, but
others.
I don't think it's nothing to write home about. It's people get really picky and say, well, I mean, it is a little bit less, but I think the Sony sensor is superior on that part, but I don't think it would stop anybody from filming anything. Also, they would say in the past, and I noticed this, is in the past, the Canon cameras that I've had were quite soft compared to, let's say, when I moved to Panasonic. I was like, whoa, this is like night and day, you know? So they always were a little softer as well. But it's nothing, I think that's just a really nitpicking on things like that. So I don't think that should stop anybody from getting it. But this new camera might improve all that.
All right, so let's talk about the next thing that they're talking about, which is 8K 30 RAW. And now they're talking about internal here. So it's meant to have 8K 30 RAW, 4K 120. So it's going to have 4K 160, 120, 10-bit internal video. So it's 422 10-bit internal video. So what have you got to sort of say about that aspect of it?
Well, I mean, I have used external monitors, throughout the last 12 years, but I don't like using them. If you haven't known me by now or you're new to this video, I do have a YouTube channel, by the way, Aaron J. Anderson, but I'm a minimalist. I just like very small. I don't like to mess around with a bunch of gear. So I was never into external monitors. So having something like that internally is just really, really good. And that's like far superior than any of the Sony cameras now. So that's just amazing. Yeah.
I know it, and this is the thing. We've had interesting discussions about the 8K, and I think, look, that's probably not needed at this stage, but it does future-proof. And I was discussing this with people that it does future-proof the camera for the next few years. Because remember, not long ago, everyone was saying the same thing, that we didn't need 4K, and now I know here in Australia, nearly everyone has a 4K television here now that buys a television, so they're becoming more and more popular. So it's probably going to be the same thing, in a few years down the track. So this camera, they're sort of future-proofing it if they do give us that 8K ability, Aaron.
Yeah, 8K is like something, even here in Puerto Rico still, when I do commercials for the networks here, they don't even want 4K. It's like 1080. And even 1080 ends up getting squished down to even lower res than that, which every time I see my work on TV here, I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks terrible. But so for me, 8K, exporting out in 8K is like just a no-go for what I do. But that would be really cool because we're talking about future-proof, and for a while I was thinking like cameras, there's really no such thing as future-proof because once you get a camera, the next one's out, and if anybody knows me, I'm switching cameras all the time. And so it's kind of like future-proof for me as far as the camera's concerned, not for not having a high-quality file for future purposes, but the camera itself. But if you can get a camera that has like all the stuff that's like right at the top technology that will probably take you for the next 5 years or so, or maybe even longer than that, then that's pretty exciting actually. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing too, Aaron, I had some people say to me, well, what can edit this? Max Yurov did a video review on his channel that showed a laptop that he was using, and I think it was priced around about 3,000 United States dollars, but it had this very high-end graphics card in it. He actually showed that editing raw footage with multiple layers on it in real time. So he was saying that the technology is actually there now to edit these without using proxy sort of servers and things like that, or settings. So this was editing in real time. Now this was a laptop, so clearly the technology is already there. He was showing that, and he demonstrated it on his actual video. Now the reason why I think that it interests me as well is that I can see the potential where I'm going to be grabbing those stills from 8K footage, Aaron, and this is something we've discussed before.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine filming a wedding with a higher, shutter speed, so there's no motion blur, and a higher frame rate at 8K, and grabbing some stills from that? We've also talked like if you want to. I was doing this on Panasonic when they came out with the I forget what they call it, photo mode, 4K, whatever, where you could take files from there. If you want to get that ball hitting the bat, or if you're watching a mixed martial arts and you want to get the punch just hitting right, I mean, trying to capture that on the camera is tough. I know there's, like the A9 II, you can sit there and rattle off stuff. That's how they do it now. But to have like all those frames in between and grabbing one of those is quite interesting to do stuff like that. Now, with that said, I don't use that option all that often, but the better it gets, because I think there is still JPEG naturally, unless it shoots it raw. Yeah. But if you can shoot raw like that now, it's like, wow, that's like exciting, That's really exciting.
I know, because what are you going to get? Like a 36 megapixel file size, I think,
raw
out
file,
of that, and it's raw, so it's incredible if you think about the implication of that. The other thing too
that's why it's future-proof,
also how you're saying too that you can edit amazingly well on your iPad, and that's the processor that Apple have got on the iPad that we've got there. Well, the latest rumors are that they're going to release desktop versions of those processors that are inside there. So Apple, in fact, are going to move away from the Intel processor and go to ARM. I think it's the ARM processor on the Mac side of things. So who knows how that's going to be able to perform with these type of files, because it seems to be that, that a little iPad now can be throwing around these 60 megapixel file sizes and 4K video without really even stumbling. So, you don't know what's possible with the next sort of iteration of the Apple chips are going to be coming out, that they are going to be able to edit these things basically in real time. So, it looks pretty exciting.
Well, real-time editing is definitely good, but as we said, you don't have to have the fastest computer if you really want to use that 8K by using proxies. It's basically a lower resolution version of the full resolution version. So you're editing that, but then when you render the whole video file out to the final movie, then of course it pulls the big juicy video and then gets it that way. So you can still do it. I mean, it's real time. It's just you're looking at a lesser quality image, which most of the time you can't really even tell that much. So even with that said, most computers can edit 8K by using proxies. It's not that hard to set up either. Well, you could probably do a video about that someday. But yeah, you can still do it even if you don't have to go out and buy a computer that's going to you won't need a new computer that does 8K to take advantage of it.
Now, I also was thinking too about this because I was looking at some of the chats we were having yesterday in the photography, videography school and some other places, but they were also discussing too that someone made a comment, I can't remember who it was, it might have even been on my YouTube channel, but they were saying basically that, look, they don't want to have to pay for these video features, they just want a stills camera that is going to be cheaper, and I brought up an argument against that to say that I think that is going to finish. I think the true stills photography type camera is going to completely disappear. And there's reasons why I believe that. And I'd love your opinion about this too, before we go on some of these other specs, that with things being so tight, and they're talking that the industry has dropped off 60% alone in this last month, obviously due to the virus and everything else. But the industry was struggling even before that was happening, due to the fact of people just not having the money. I think the issue is that the R&D, I don't know if they can justify producing too many cameras anymore of complete ranges. I think what you're going to find is it is going to become, the general thing is going to become like this fusion camera that's going to be able to do the stills and the video at the same time. So I think photographers that are asking for this camera that just does stills anymore is just not going to happen. In other words, if you don't want the 8K, you just don't use it. And that was my argument, that if you don't want the 8K, you don't use it. If you don't like a flip screen, you keep it closed. But to develop to completely R&D separate cameras costs way too much money. It's cheaper for them to probably put all of this stuff into sort of similar cameras and then give the choice to the photographer whether they want to use it. And in fact, they probably save money than bringing out cameras that are just going to be stills cameras. And I've discussed this before, that the younger generation today particularly are very video-centric. Everything they share is video. Look at TikTok, look at all the other things that are out there now. Instagram, it's all video that they're sharing. They're sharing very few stills.
Right.
So I think the days of a stills camera is gone, Aaron.
Well, they started like that before. Nikon, forget which one it was, but Nikon was the first DSLR that came out with...
It was a D90.
The D90, came out with the first video. It was, I think it was less than, I don't even think it was standard video. I don't remember what it was. I never had it. And then, of course, Canon came out with the 1920 by 1080 at 24p. I think that was the first. But so they actually was like that for a long time. And then it wasn't recent till... I think was Sony the first one to really start making cameras kind of more geared toward this and more geared toward that, or was it Panasonic? I don't remember, but they started going that route, so they might fall back to that one camera that does everything type of mentality. So I think that's what they'll probably do, especially with the numbers that drop, because I don't think they're going to make like two. Well, they might, don't they? But don't they have the 5 R6? Or
yes, the R6, I believe, is going to have 4K 60 and 120.
So maybe I'm
it's just going to eliminate the 8K. But this is what I think is going to happen. You're going to have all the cameras will have a very high video capability and also stills capability, but it's just that you'll pay obviously for the top end, which is their pinnacle type camera, which will have, say in the Canon for instance, will have that 8K 30. The R6 will have the 4K 60 or 120, so it gives you that option of buying both. But like I said, I think the days of being able to say, well, I don't want to pay for that, I just want to buy a stills camera, those cameras just aren't going to be available.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know why, just not too far they started making those two camera things. Wasn't even that long ago, right? That they started making like two new cameras. This one has this and this one has that.
Panasonic did it, didn't they? With their
I think it was
Panasonic.
Yeah, they said, hey, if you want all this, with the scopes or whatever is in the, I don't remember, Panasonic S, whatever it is, and then I think it just gets all these. It's harder for them, and I think they got to spend more money to make all these different cameras when they could make like something like the what is this thing called, the R5, and just have it like you said. If you don't need to use 8K, just don't use it. But then comes the question is, people are going to feel like they're paying a lot of money for those features that they'll never use. So maybe that's why they're coming out with the R6 to make it cheaper. So.
Yeah,
I don't know where they're going to go.
Now, the other thing, too, is the R5 is the first one mirrorless camera that's going to have, from Canon, that's going to have the 5-body axis stabilization. Now, the interesting thing here is that I've used the Canon, the lens stabilization is outstanding. It's actually really good. So I'm really interested to see how good the 5-axis stabilization adds to this component, because if it does really improve incredibly on this, and you can handhold like you can, say, Panasonic's, this is something that Sony is going to have to improve on, because the Sony stabilization is great for stills, Aaron, but it's not that good for hand-holding video.
Yeah, video's kind of gone out the wayside, I think, with Sony, being that the screen doesn't articulate, which a lot of videographers do, being that the codecs and all that stuff are low grade. You can't even touch on certain things. Yeah, there's a lot of things about it that aren't that great on Sony. So this we'll be talking about in a little bit. They have to come out with something just to compete. But like you said, or someone said, we were saying that photographers don't feel like they need it. But I think they might have to pay for those features. That's, I think, why people get upset with the higher video features that they're going to have to pay for that they don't want to.
Now,
XT4, I know. The XT4 image stabilization seems really good as well. So Sony is really lacking behind everybody else now in
Someone
image
said
stabilization.
they can see a screen underneath me. Let me just move me down there. I think it's the, where are we?
Oh, yeah, I can see myself on there.
I've got to find where that one is.
That's me.
That's me. Let me just see if I can move me down to there. That will hide it. That'll do. Let me just then refresh that. And come back. Yeah, now the other... so I'm pretty excited to see how they handle this 5-axis stabilization. It's going to be really interesting. The other thing too is on the still side, they're saying it's going to be around about this 40 to 45 megapixel stills camera with a 12 frames per second mechanical shutter and a 20 frames per second electronic shutter. Now we don't know how good that's going to be, like if it's going to be an A9 level with without rolling shutter and things like that. These are things we don't know until the camera's released. But they're still pretty good specs, very, very good specs, in fact, on the still side, Aaron. If you're looking at 40-odd megapixels, 12 frames per second mechanical, 20 frames per second electronic.
Yeah, that's why people don't believe it's actually going to happen, because it seems really good in so many different areas of photography and videography. But I've always said, I know Canon has it in them. If they just made this camera, which was before it came out or talked about, if they just made a camera this amazing, they can just sweep everybody and get back to the king of the hill, you know?
Now, the other thing, too, is interesting, because this has already put pressure on the marketplace, because I noticed Langston's in here talking about his Panasonic as well, but it's just dropped the Panasonic 6K camera by $600 just the other day.
Oh, wow.
Now, I believe you can now buy that camera for $1,900 United States dollars, and that is incredible if you think that's
crazy.
A 6K video camera at that price range has just dropped immediately that this is happening. So you can already straight away see what's happening in the marketplace. This is still why I believe this camera is going to come between $3,500 and $4,000 United States dollars. I don't think in the current marketplace there's much room to go much above that, because people just won't have the money. So I think what's going to happen, this is going to be priced around the 5D Mark IV area. This is the replacement for that on the mirrorless side, and then they'll have the 5D sort of replacement, which will be the R6, which will come well under that. It's Black Magic. Sorry, Langston, you're right. It was a Black Magic camera that was reduced $600 the other day. So it's great. Are you buying another one, Langston, at that sort of cost savings? Because it's a pretty amazing deal at the moment.
That's the Black Magic Pocket 6K?
Yes. So just let me scroll through this quickly.
Well, I think that's why Canon... I think that's why Canon was putting all the information out really early, just so they can get everybody prepared and sell their old gear for this thing, I guess. I don't know.
Now, I have seen the 5D Mark, is it the 5D Mark, the 1DX, sorry, the 1DX Mark III. I think that's the newest Canon
that's the newest
digital SLR, yeah. I've seen the autofocus live tracking in that, and that is absolutely outstanding. So I think the days where you used to say that Sony is way ahead. I think now they're getting to the point where they're getting very, very close in AF. They both have animal IAF now. They're touting that in this camera, I mean. They've both got really good face tracking now, very good video autofocus tracking. So I think the days of saying, that is a problem is no longer there. The dual card slots are interesting because they're going to be using CF Express, and that clearly is to enable that higher megapixel, like 8K footage.
Yep. It's going to be a pretty heavy-duty information and codec going to those cards.
Yeah. So, just to quickly sum up, I mean, I'm hoping Sony do announce something in the coming days. Like I said, I'll talk about this on Friday with you guys, but there's a couple of things where I think Sony definitely need to improve, and they've got to add with this announcement. They definitely need to have at least 4K 60 in a camera to keep people like me happy. Oh, thank you so much, Gop. That's 4,000. I don't know what that is. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. He said, have a great night. It's really interesting because I think, what does Sony have to sort of keep people happy in that regard? Well, like I said, I think they really need at least 4K 60, and I'm hoping that we get at least 4K 120. We need 10-bit at least, and we need 422 in the video aspects of it. Now, what about the design of the camera? Well, they definitely... And I watched Ike's video the other day, and he was showing shooting, and he was using the back screen, and he was flipping through all his images with his finger, doing all these beautiful things with touch screens. Sony also definitely need to get rid of that archaic back screen that they're using. It is now up to the point where it's becoming a bit of a joke compared to what we have on the EOS R and also the Z series cameras. So that's another thing.
It's the same one they've had for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, they never upgraded.
The touchscreen is just a joke that Sony give us compared to what, say, Canon and Nikon. And look at the GH5. The GH5 had a touchscreen, what was that,
the
4
G9,
or 5 years ago?
And the Panasonic G9 isn't quite as good as like an iPhone, but it's pretty close, I mean, every once in a while it doesn't go, but I mean, once Sony has the technology, if they could make it like as what do you call that, tactile or whatever, as like an iPhone where it just works.
Well, they have phones. That's the thing, Aaron. They have great mobile phones, so they obviously have the technology that they could do it. Yeah.
Now, hey, Ike, is the Nikon as good at? I didn't see your video that Dave was talking about. Is the Nikon as good as a cell phone or not quite? I'd like to know that.
Yeah, he'll put that in there. But it was an interesting discussion there. He's showing the beautiful screen. And I've used like I said, I've used the EOS R. I used Jurvan's actually when he showed me, and I looked through it that extensively when I went through that course. It was amazing. Yeah, the back screen is like chalk and cheese if you're talking about how it works with the Sonys compared to what it is on, say, the Canon. Yep. So then they definitely need to improve that. All right, so we'll come back to questions and have a look at the end, guys, too. I'm just checking what we've got next on the docs to list it. The next one is Catchlights. So if Aaron's putting that down on the timeline. We wanted to talk about Catchlights, Aaron, because it's a very, very important thing. I'm going to show a couple of images, and then Aaron may have a couple of images that he can also show.
I got a video I can explain.
Oh, great. Okay. So the interesting thing about it is that, just to explain, I'll just show an image. Let me bring one up so that I can show you one. Down here, let me open up a couple. And then it's easier if I sort of show you this way. So let me bring it over here. And let me come back to this. Now, where are we? Let me come back to this. And I'll move it up so we can see it. All right, so this was a beautiful one of Liz. I'm getting confused with you all. This was Liz. Elizabeth, I think it was actually. Here, for instance, if I didn't add the catchlights that you can sort of see in the eyes here, which gives that beautiful lift through the eyes through there, the eyes can tend to look what they call dead. And it's a massive difference between seeing something where you'll look at an image like what I'm showing you here with the catchlights on and with it off. It just gives a gorgeous look to the image, and it gives that life part to the image, I think. It makes the eyes look like they're alive. And that's one of the main things that I love. And like Gilbert says, I love good catchlights. It's like the sparkle in the eyes. It is. And I think you need that to add that beautiful look to an image, and it's always what I look for here. Now, what I was doing here, I had her head pointed up towards me. This is a shot that I always do when I do weddings. Her head was pointed up towards me, and then there's two ice lights being used either side, and that's why you can see those in the catchlights there as two separate catchlights. But it just gives that lovely look to the face. The lighting is balanced even, but the thing that draws me every time I look at this is the eyes. Now, I'll show you another one from the same shoot, which is a bit lower down. So let me bring this down. So I'll show how it's even important to sort of see if you're looking at an image where it's a lot smaller, that you can see even if you look through here that even though this is an image overall of showing this beautiful bride, I've still been able to capture the highlights in her eyes on this aspect. So, and this is why I'm saying that it's so important to show that lovely feature in the eyes. If that wasn't there, even though she's beautifully lit, Aaron, she would have that. I know it's a horrible thing to say, but it looks almost dead lifeless in the eyes if you haven't got those beautiful catch lights to show. So what you've got to try and make sure here, and I'll pass over to Aaron in a minute, but what you've got to try and make sure here is that when you're doing this, that you look deliberately to see and move the lights around until you get those beautiful catch lights showing in the eye directly through the camera. Someone said, did I use the B10? No, I didn't at this stage here. I was using ice lights for this. That's just two perfect examples that I could thought that I'd be able to show with you, that even though the lighting's nice, it wouldn't look anything like that unless I had that lovely catch lights in the eyes. So let me come back to you, Aaron, and you might be able to give an example. So I'm on to you now.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a video. I had someone in our gym, it may have been 2 years ago. They came up to me and said, oh my gosh, I love the video you do for the gym, promotional videos and stuff like that. So they asked me to do, they wanted me to make a video for social media, advertisement type stuff, but they didn't have a lot of money. They didn't want to put a lot into it. So I asked them, do you have a model to, to say what you want to say, or a location? And they said no. So I said, well, I'll give you a cheap price if I do the model and I do it at home. So I'm going to show you me doing a commercial, filming myself. But I thought this would be fun just to show you guys. But also hopefully you guys can see the catch light in my eyes. And let me show it first, and then I will show you how I got those catch lights. David, I'm going to share my screen through Skype.
Just wanted to thank Julian for a donation too.
Yes.
He gave $10, so thank you so much, Julian.
Thank you so much. Let's see if I can share this properly. Let's move see, I'm going to have to move no, do I have to move all that? Let me just move this. And I'm going to pause it. And share
now,
screen.
while Aaron's doing this too, Gilbert said that's an advantage of losing lights. And yes, it is, Gilbert. But if I was in the situation where I didn't have lights, I would be sitting the bride close to the window so I could still get catch lights. You just have to work around it. But ideally, you'll have lights, where you'll get that. If not, try and use any available light anywhere that you can get that same result. You can even use walls and things like that if you can get enough light through it.
Exactly. Okay, can you see my screen? Is it black?
No, it's not. I can still see you, actually.
Now, why didn't that work? It worked yesterday.
The beauties of Skype. Now, the interesting...
Well, it worked yesterday.
Yeah, you know what? The interesting thing is up there, it just went to black, so it hasn't switched for some reason.
Okay, yeah, if it's black, that's okay. I have it on pause.
Oh, okay, that might be it then. But why
okay,
I'm gonna still try it and I'll just see.
Okay.
Hello, today I want to talk about Jalco Tax Service. We are an accounting firm specialized in federal and state taxes. We do all the tax preparation online without you having to leave your work or home. We can help you get the most out of your tax refund or...
Did you hear it? See it?
Yeah, but the funny thing is, let me just see if I can add... It's showing up in one camera here, but it's not showing up in the... under the main ones, and I don't know why. Let me just check what that is. I might be able to add that in.
All right.
Local live Skype. Add local live Skype. Let me just see if it adds it.
Because I'm doing the same thing and I see the red box around my screen like yesterday.
Yeah, it's weird. It's strange because I can show it here. I wonder if I can make this bigger. Let me see if I can get around it with that. I might be able to just bring yours up.
If not, we can do it without audio. I can do it through OBS. We don't need to hear my voice, I guess.
Like that. I've just got to find where you are. The beauties of live broadcasts. Let me just see.
Yeah, hold on there, fellas.
Let me delete that.
Should I stop sharing and then reshare, or just stay where I'm at?
No, stay where you are for the moment. I'm just trying to see if I can get it to come up. I might be able to even just blow this up. Let me see.
He just said I'm on a pop-up ad. Let It might be because I'm in the corner. My box is in a corner on the side, I think.
Yeah, I'm just going to see if I can get it up a bit low.
Oh yeah, I see my commercial on the on YouTube.
I can probably do it this way. I'm just not sure why. Let me click off and then back again. All right, press play now, and I'll just see if it works. Oh, no, it's not going. Yeah, isn't that funny? Yesterday, you know, we did a test, guys, with this yesterday, and it worked spot on. Oh, the joys, I tell you, the joys of doing live feeds. I love it. Oh, my God. Yeah, try it again. Let's give it another go and see, because it's not switching for some reason. It's staying on your feed.
Okay. Here we go. We are going to, well, I had it over here yesterday, so let's go share screen. And it says right there, everybody can see that and share.
Yeah, it's not switching through
Yeah,
this.
see, you know, it's funny because I saw like a glitch.
Yeah.
Something glitched on my screen here. Well, let me just...
Oh, dear. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Oh, no, it's just ended. I think it cancelled. I think we just dumped Aaron out of the thing. I love it. Let me see if I can recall him back. Well, Aaron did well then. I just booted him.
Hey, I thought you were a prank caller, so I hung up on you.
I love it.
What's that red button do?
Oh, no,
that's a hang up button.
Don't press that button.
Oh, that's too funny. Hey, that's a good opportunity. Oh my gosh, my feed went out too. Okay.
Oh, I love it. All right, so
Are we
try
still
again.
on?
Yeah, so let's see what happens. Now, hang on, let me just switch because I'm going to come back to you. Let me just come out of this and then come back.
That is too funny. Okay, I'm ready to share. Let me know and I'm going to fire away. Should I start sharing?
Yeah, try it. I wonder if it was it definitely on that same screen yesterday? I love it. Mike says you're both like Laurel and Hardy.
Hey, that's not a put down. Okay, here we go. Share.
All right.
Did it work?
Yes, it did. Isn't that funny? It's glitches with Skype. See, Skype is a nightmare. Let's hope it plays.
Okay, well, let's try it.
Hello, today I want to talk about Jalco Tax Service. We are an accounting firm specialized in federal and state taxes. We do all the tax preparation online without you having to leave your work or home. We can help you get the most out of your tax refund or lower your payment. Call us today for a free consultation at 787-243-9305. And follow us on Facebook, Jalco Tax Service. We are here when you need it most.
Okay, so can they hear me talking?
Yep.
Okay, let me pause it here. So that's how I got them a good price, that I just did everything, right? And I'm going to show you guys how I got these catch lights. Now, can they see my mouse moving though?
Yep.
Okay, you can see I got two catch lights. Now, I filmed this by myself, so it's really hard to film by yourself. I had it in 4K, so I did this fake digital pan just to give some movement to the scene because I'm filming by myself. And if you look into my right eye here, I got two catch lights. Now, I only have one on the other side.
Hang on a second. Just let me see. I think they're saying that we're only seeing audio and no video. Just press play again because I think they were saying no video, just audio.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gone again, I think. Just stop
Hello,
your screen
today I want to talk about Jalco Tax Service. We are an accounting firm specialized in federal and state taxes. We do all the tax preparation online without you having to leave your work or home. We can help you get the most out of your
on there now.
Oh my gosh. Now why would that...
Stop screen sharing again.
Okay, I stopped it. Should I just do the OBS?
No, yeah, well, try it. Yeah, you might. Try it and just see. We'll give it one more go. So go for your screen sharing. We'll give it one more go.
Okay, screen share, share computer sound, and go.
Let's see what happens.
Oh, see, I seen a glitch. I don't think it's going to work. Let's see.
Hello, today I want to talk about Jalco Tax Service. We are an accounting firm specialized.
I'll show it here. It is showing it here. At least we'll play it on that. Yeah, they could see it just because I had it on a small screen, but it was small. It's Skype. Guys, Skype is doing really weird things. Like it's updating in one part and then it's not showing in another. It's just does.
Gosh,
bizarre
yesterday it worked
things.
so good.
Yeah, it's.
Well, can they even? So I paused it here. Can they see it?
They could see it only small though. Can you do it through OBS or you can't?
Yeah, let's try it. Let's stop sharing this garbage.
Guys, you're learning with us. This is really good.
Okay. Let's go with.
All right, I can see it there.
See it?
Yep.
Okay, so just so you guys can see it, I'm going to pause it halfway through.
There's just no audio. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways. What we got here is I wanted to show you how. Oh, let me get to a better scene here. Okay, if you could see the catch lights in my eyes, this one has the better catch light just because since I'm filming myself, I can't see that my bridge of my nose actually canceled out the other catch light in this eyeball. So I'm going to go to myself. I'm going to show you how I do catch lights. Okay, am I back on now?
Yep.
Okay, so in video. What I first do is I set up the lighting to make the actor or whatever look good with the shadows and whatever style you're going with or whatever mood you're trying to create. Once that light's all set up, a lot of times you won't get the catch light into the camera just based on how the lighting's set up. So instead of trying to force catch lights and screwing up the mood or whatever you're trying to do with the video lighting to light the scene, I just you can use any light. And this is the actual one that I used on that video. And what you do is, where am I at? Let me put my stuff over here so I can see now. Now I'm all screwed up with all this stuff here. Give me a second. So I just have a light stand, like your typical cheap light stand. And what I do is I put a light on the light stand. And then if you're filming someone, doing it yourself is so hard. It took me so long to do it. But then all I do is dim it to the point where it's not affecting your scene. And it can be pretty low because your eyes are going to reflect this light even if it's at low, low output. So I put it at low output or I go as high as I can without making it hit my scene in any way and destroying the lighting that I just set up. And then basically looking at the back of a monitor, I'll have someone or myself, if I'm by myself filming somebody, and I'll just have them move it around until we get the catch light on the back of the monitor of the camera. And wherever I see that catch light look good, that's where we keep it there and then we film the shot. So that's how you can put catch light in video when you don't want to force it by, making your main light go lower just to get catch lights, but now it don't look good. Just use any light source. And you'll see that it doesn't take much to power on this thing to reflect in someone's eye. And then just look at the back of the screen with the actor looking, and they don't even have to be looking in the screen. It could be two people at a restaurant eating, and you're filming someone, and move that around to on the back of the screen. You see, oh, there's the catch light, and then you can have someone hold it if you want, but it might take a while. Put on a light stand, and that's how you get catch light in video without using your set lights.
Yeah,
okay,
it's exactly. It's because your eyes are exactly like glass. I mean, that they'll reflect anything that they see. So it's like, we can see in our glasses how much reflection you get that you don't see on your face. And it's the eyes are exactly the same. But it certainly does make such a massive difference, in video and stills. And yes. What might work too, Aaron, next time, this is what I had to do when I was sharing my screen. If I wanted the audio, I'd just turn on the speakers and then turn the speakers back off, and then at least you can hear the audio through your system. Your mic picks it up. I did it that way.
Yeah, screw Skype.
But who knows? It worked perfectly yesterday when we did that test. Who knows? I mean, it's just crazy.
Thanks, Gilbert.
At least OBS. At least it worked through OBS anyway.
Now, I think David hit all the pointers. Basically, when you're filming something, let's say it's more of a more romantic lighting setup in a restaurant, let's say, or whatever you're doing here. And the actors if they don't have any catch light, even though they're kind of lit, it just like David said, it looked kind of dead. There's just like no sparkle in the eye. So by just taking a light and finding out where that, make sure it doesn't, affect your scene there. And just once you get those little sparkles in the eye, man, it just brings a whole different look to the scene, so to the character. It makes them look more alive than just like dead eyes. So
Colin said an interesting thing here, and I don't worry about the shape, to be honest, but Colin said, should catch lights be round, not square. I never actually worry about it as long as there's catch lights in the eyes. I've never had anyone ever say to me, clients anyway, oh, the catch lights are a bit of they're not round, they're not the right shape. I mean, sometimes you see them where they use the ring lights, and that really is a distinctive look because you get that ring that you see in the whole eyes, which a lot of the Instagram models love that type of look as well. But I don't think the shape matters too much, really, Aaron. I mean, I love Octobox. The shape, I think, looks beautiful as well, though. But I don't think it really matters that much.
Well, most of the time, no one will ever notice because it's just like this, bright white hot spot in someone's eye, unless it's really blown up. Or I actually, when I first started doing videography and photography, I would, when I'd walk through, let's say, a Macy's or whatever, I'd walk up to like in the makeup department or whatever, and I would look at the eyes to see what kind of lights did they use, where were they in the scene, and yeah, I saw all kind of strip panels and octagons, and from a distance, when you're just looking at it, it just looks like a sparkle in the eye, and especially in video, you probably would never know what's going on unless it's very distinctive, like David said, using a ring light right over the lens. Then you're going to have that specific type of look that a ring light gives.
Now I noticed I had a question there from Hogarth, I think it is, or Hogarth. Any tricks for catch lights in the eyes for people who wear glasses? Yeah, I have. Look, it takes a bit of practice, but the main thing that you can do here is that. What I tend to do, most of the reflections come because the glasses are on the head normally, like what you see here. The trick that I do with glasses is I lift the front up of the glasses. Now, I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this in where we are here, but what I do is I tilt the glasses up off the head. Now, it's sort of more obvious on me because I have no hair, but most people who have hair, it's totally hidden. But if you tilt the glasses up, remember, there's a thing called angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. And what that means is that the way the light comes in is the way it reflects out. So if you're doing it straight and the light's coming straight on, it bounces straight back. But if you move your glasses up like that, what happens is that the light reflection comes down here and then it will bounce down sort of low like that. So that's a perfect way that I tend to get rid of the light from showing in the glasses, but the eyes still will get the catch light. So I hope that answers your question.
That's good info right there.
Gilbert says ring lights look a bit weird. Yeah, but some, like I said, a lot of the models love them, and the makeup artists love them as well, and they love that type of look.
Well, mainly they like it not just because of the catch lights that they produce, but it's the even light. When you're a makeup artist and you don't want any light, you don't like, let's see, I've got shadows coming across my face. If you're trying to do makeup and make this side look like that side, it would be almost impossible to do makeup when you're doing shading because, makeup artists are just like dodging and burning someone's face. And if you have a shadow on there, it's going to be like, oh my gosh. So having a ring light is just all lit up and it's like a white piece of paper with good lighting, and then you can just do it. But then, of course, some people do like that catch light, like in music videos and so forth.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of the actresses love that for their sort of model shoots and stuff like that. They love that type of look. It's quite flattering. I mean, the catch lights are weird when I look at them. I'm not sure I like it either. But I know a lot of them, when you look at them, love that type of lighting that it gives you, which is that flat, it's very flattering type lighting.
Covers up wrinkles and stuff, because if you have side lighting with wrinkles or something, of course, the wrinkles will have a little bit of shadow in them because it's like, like a crack or a wrinkle, and it shows wrinkles more, so having a flat light, you get rid of all that. So
Oreo said there, which is interesting, g'day Oreo too, in nature there's no such thing as round catch lights, and remember, that's the thing, it could be windows, like you see things like that which are natural catch lights that you can see in walls all the time. And this is why I'm saying you've always got to be conscious about what is in your image to be able to get that if you haven't got lighting. If you've got lighting, it's easy because you can just position the lighting and then get the catch lights you want. But if you haven't got that, you would use things like floors, use things like walls. Just use something that's light, that's going to reflect that light. Yeah, reflectors into that subject's face, because without the catch lights, they will look like they've got dead eyes, and that's the worst thing that you can have.
And I forgot to mention, but that commercial had 2 catch lights in each eye. Of course, this one you couldn't see because of the bridge of my nose, and because I'm on this side of the camera, I didn't know my nose would have blocked that out. But I had a catch light from one side and the other. The other one of them was this, and then the other one was a window. So even if I didn't have this, I would have had a small catch light from the window that was kind of off in the distance. But yeah, you can, of course, if you're using natural light and you want that background, of course you can't. That's why you use it. These little tricks and stuff we're telling you. But yeah, you get catch lights and natural light a lot of times, especially if you want to, you can.
Yep. That's good. Like I said, we'll come back to questions, guys, at the finish. We'll have a special Q&A time here as well. So the next thing we're going to look at, and this is one thing which I wish cameras, it's probably in the camera that Blackmagic that Langston uses. I'm sure it would be. It's also, I think, yeah, it was in my GH5 as well, and I really missed it when I lost that when I came to Sony for videography.
Oh,
because
yeah.
Aaron is going to take you through using waveforms. Now, this is one thing, guys, that would be the total game changer for any exposure that you're actually doing if you're using waveforms. And I'd love it in stills photography as well. And now I always use the histogram, but I would adore to be able to use the waveforms because it gives you a beautiful look of how the whole image is going to be exposed. And Aaron will take us through that now. So I'm going to switch over to Aaron and he'll take us through it. This is really important, guys. Try and learn from this because it really is great.
Okay, let me set all this up real quick here. I gotta move everything over here. Let's move this, oh wait, yeah, over here.
I don't know why, like I just wish Sony would have this feature built into it and, you know, the other mirrorless makers, particularly when they're dealing with videography. You always get it if you're looking at the monitors that you buy, will always have this feature built in. I'll just come back over here just while we're waiting on this. Yeah, it's always a selection that you can make in, say, like the monitors you have and stuff like that will always have a waveform monitor. Now, that can be RGB or just mono. Now, I'll switch back over to Aaron and he'll take you through what we're talking about.
Alrighty, so here is, let me see, I can't see myself, so hopefully everything looks good here.
Yep, looks good.
What we got here on the left is the waveform, which is typically used in video, and then on the right we do have a histogram here. What these are showing is the luminance of the image. So a lot of photographers are used to seeing histograms, like on the back of their camera, which 0 means black, and then 100 is pure white. So depending on your exposure, all this information will either go to the left toward a darker image or to the right to brighter image. And what a waveform does exactly the same thing. So we're looking at a shot from a movie here that I'll talk about color grading, or not color grading, but exposure in Hollywood movies. And what we're seeing here is the information right here. So you can see that this is the bright part on the street, so that's what's represented here in the waveform. And on the histogram, you don't really get that information. It's just showing you this stuff here. But in a waveform, you can actually see where everybody is. So this guy standing here on the left is actually represented right here on the waveform. Now,
Aaron,
this
can you
is
show
just
that moving just so people can even see it?
No, I
works,
can't.
the
They're
movie? You can't?
screenshots.
Oh, okay. It
No.
doesn't. Yeah, now, just to explain there too, the beauty is that when you're
I'll show
playing
you
this,
something.
you see it moving, which is brilliant.
Yeah, no, I'll show you. I'll just show you on another clip I have other than that.
It doesn't matter if it's going to cause an issue, but it's...
No, here. Let's just try something. Okay, here.
Yep.
Let's try this. Now, when I play this, you're going to, because I'm hand holding here, but you could see as I'm playing through this, the histogram's moving. That's because this bright section here is represented by this bright section on this bottle, and then all the other information in the background is here. So as I play that, which isn't a good thing, but you can see it moving around.
You can still see it moving, yeah.
Yeah, I've got other, let me just see real quick. You can see this shirt here blowing in the, well, crap. Anyway.
Yeah, you can.
Here's my dog. Okay, look. So
yeah, look.
As my dog's moving around, you can see she's in the middle here. That's her moving. You can almost see the 4 legs even.
Yep. So this means you can target that exact area, Aaron, doesn't it? Which is what's so good. Yep.
Exactly. So you can actually see it moving. Now let's look. What does it do to the histogram? You can see it moving too, but it's not telling you like where the dog is or what other things are in the scene. Just the overall luminance and where they're headed. Okay, let's go back.
That was perfect. Yeah.
Here, yeah, I forgot about the movement thing. Okay, so that's how you look at, the histogram. Let's just go to the waveform here. So what we're looking at here is 0 represents black, like pure black, and 1023 represents pure white. And a lot of people ask, why is it 1023, not 100? Because this DaVinci Resolve right here is set up for 10-bit, so that's why it says 1023. And what we're seeing here in the scene, I got to try to fit all this in. Usually I use 2 monitors and put this on the other monitor.
That's pretty good.
But what we're seeing here is how to read this. So if we wanted to look at different, let's go to this section here. If you wanted to do like skin tones, let's say, we could see where this guy falls in the skin tone category. How am I going to put all this in here?
I can see it. It's fine.
Okay, so we could see that this area over here is here, and here's a skin tone. And most skin tones we want around the 640. But in Hollywood, it's a little different sometimes, and that's where waveforms can really come in handy. I'm going to get onto another image here. You can see that this is the guy right in the middle, if I line that up. Yep. So we can see where his skin tone is falling, at least the hot part. It's above 768. And sometimes when you're grading your footage, you just got to make sure that you're not going toward that 1023, because then you're going to blow everything out. And if you go lower than 0, you're going to crush all the blacks. And it's really that easy as far as waveform is concerned. And we're just going to go through different scenes here, because what I wanted to show you guys too is not only how to use a waveform, but how Hollywood movie actually grades their films as far as luminance are concerned. Most of the time in Hollywood films, you're going to see like a darker image like this, and what they usually do is they'll keep look at all the information in this scene. It's all below 512. And why I'm going into this, because someone asked me on a video of mine. You can see where they're keeping all the information at 512. Let's go to another scene. This is code 8, by the way. Here's another shot. Where is most of the information? It's down here below 512. Because what most people do is, when I see on the internet, is they talk about, getting their footage to look filmic or cinematic. But what they're doing is, if we go into the color section here, we've got our lift, which is our blacks. Gamma is our midtones, basically. And gain is our highlights. And what I see people do is they'll take the blacks and they'll come all the way down here to 0. You can see this. This is where the information is. So a lot of people are taught to take it down here to 0, where the blacks are, and then take the highlights and go all the way up here to the highlights to get to stretch the dynamic range out. But when we're talking about the cinematic look, that's not what Hollywood does. I was going to reset that. They put it all down here to 512. So your skin tones aren't going to be always perfect when you do this. As you can see, this guy right here is right about here at 512. So if we wanted to do perfect skin tones, I think I got a better image over here. So let's say we want to get this guy at those 640 skin tones, where a lot of people like to ride those things. If we press Alt-S, we get another node here. And then what I'm going to show you is, if we go into we go into this window here, and I created a window so we can just
his face, isn't it?
Yeah, just his face, so we can see the skin tones here. And don't mind this line too much, but his skin tones are riding right about 512. So if we go with the idea of trying to get them up to 640, where they kind of should be, and we take the highlights and we go up. I don't know if you guys can see this, but his face is now at 640, and what that's going to do, oops, let's redo that. I'm going to do it on this one so we can go back and we can bring it up to 640 so we can see what the image is doing. So we're at 640 now, and now you can see the image. A lot of people would probably, maybe go with that route. It's a screenshot, maybe it got a little darker, but I just wanted to show you guys that Hollywood, most of the information, if you want something to look cinematic, is down here below 512 on most of these images here. And I'm just going to go through some of these, and you get to see the waveform. So here's the same movie. Most of the information is down here. Of course, we got all these bright windows here, so the information went high. But as you can see, it never clips above 1023, and it never goes below here. Certain movies are a little different. Now, if we're talking about movies like, let's go to a chick flick. Chick flicks usually, okay, so Hollywood movies are usually darker images. The vibrance in the color, or the luminosities in the colors, are usually darker and more rich, because digital typically puts more luminosity in colors, so the colors look more bright. It usually has a sharper, more brighter look to the whole image, which kind of shouts out digital. But in Hollywood, they still want to do film type looks, and that's the difference in digital from film. And if we go to like commercials, now when I film a commercial, yeah, they look at the information. Now this is where most people I see on YouTube are doing. They're bringing down their blacks to the black point and bringing up their whites up here. But then in the same sentence, they're saying, let me teach you how to do a cinematic look. And it's not a cinematic look, it's a commercial look, is what they're basically doing. So all the information is falling in here. And here's just another image of a commercial. As you can see, all the information is more up here. And here's another commercial at the end where all the information is doing this, go all the way up to go all the way down to the blacks and all the way up and move all this around. So just to give you guys an idea of how to use waveforms, if you're doing commercials, they like this more crushed, the blacks, and this more spread out, vibrant look. And if we go to film, this is a different movie, and you can see all the information is down here. Here's this whole trick again. If we just look at his skin tone, we can see that it's way under 640. So that's just the colorist idea of what he wants. If we brighten this up to get skin tones about 640, that's what the image would look like if you do that, which might look right. And like I said, as a screenshot, maybe it's a little darker. So
now, Aaron, do you if you were going to use this, say, for your exposure when you're doing your initial image, now this is in the grading side of things, do you do the same thing when you're exposing your images just to say on your camera when you're actually exposing initially?
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to go into that, but I will. Now, let's just say, let's say I was filming this, and this is the back of my camera right here, and let's say this is the waveform of my camera as I'm filming this scene. We're going to use the offset here just to show you guys. Offset basically, okay, so the lift takes it down toward to blacks. This is the midtones, and then this is the brights. But if we go to the offset, it takes the whole thing up together. I screwed that up because let me reset that. This takes it all up together, as you can see. So if I were to record this in camera, I would want to be right about here.
So you just change. So in other words, you're just going to change your shutter speed, your aperture, and ISO to get that figure, and then you'd work from there, wouldn't you? That's what you're doing. Well,
in video, you typically don't use the shutter speed. You usually have it locked down to 48 frames per second if you're 24 or whatever like that. So you're basically going to have your gain, which is your ISO.
Yep.
Yeah, or ND filters, or you're going to put lighting on the subject, and there's different ways you can do that. But on the back of your camera, that's why people shoot flatter picture profiles, because they're going to get an image like this, and then what that allows you to do as a colorist, then come down here and, well, let's do it like we should. Okay, so we can bring the offset down here below 512. We can darken up the shadows a little bit down here, and I think you should always, if you're trying to get a filmic look, maybe bring it not quite at 0, but maybe 10 or 15. Maybe that's 20% before 0. And then the highlights you could bring up as high as you want. But if you want to do a cinematic look, we're going to probably keep it below 512, maybe 640. If you want those skin tones to pop, like I said before, we're not quite there. So we could take the highlights and go up a little higher. And that might be an image you like. So we're kind of going with the typical Hollywood film where we're keeping things below 512, but yet keeping the skin tones. Now, if you want the skin tones, but you don't want to ruin all this other stuff, this isn't a tutorial here for DaVinci Resolve, but that's where you would get into the qualifier where you would click on the face, and now you can just pick the face. I'm just going to do this really quick. You could just pick the face out of there, and now only the face will, if we pick Shift H, and it's all grindy because I'm not going to sit there and play with it. Yeah. But that way you can just pick the face and not the rest. So I don't know. I went through that quick because I don't want to hold you guys up too long.
That was really interesting.
got any questions, let me know.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting because I'll just switch back to us, and then you can
Yeah.
stop your screen sharing. See, and this is the thing that I do now. I love it when I can put the monitor. Like I said, I have to use a monitor at this stage. Like I'll use the Ninja or V or something like that whenever I'm shooting myself, and that's only because I like. People always say to me, "How do I get my exposure so good?" And it's because I'm nailing it with the waveforms and making sure that I'm falling within that range, and I can see exactly what's on me. Because when I move, I can see myself move around. Unlike the histogram where you just can't tell, it just gives you a highlight and your shadow and sort of a thing in between, but you can't actually see individual things move around like what Aaron showed. That's why it was so good. Someone just said, though, about Sony, it is available in the Sony high-end cameras, but it's not available in any of their lower-end cameras like the A7 series, for instance, like what we're using.
But here's a tip on how you get skin tones in camera, because I was showing you where you'd want to basically, if you're doing a cinematic grade, or if you're doing any grade, try to get the information in the middle. That way you can pull it up, pull it down, go anywhere you want. If you go too low in the exposure in camera, that means you're going to have to raise it up, and guess what comes up with that is you're going to reveal all the noise in that. And if you go too high, it's going to be, if you're have a crappy codec on your camera, then you got to bring all that back down, and now it just looks crappy. So having it in the middle allows you to go anywhere and still keep a good image quality. Now, if you want to get skin tones in camera, let's say with the Sony a7 III or any camera that has zebras, then on the Panasonic cameras, let me go with that first. They have a spot metering that works a lot better for this than the Sony. But you could put, let's say, let me get into a position here. You can see my key light is hitting my face right here. So this is where you want to have around that 680 IRE on the waveform that I was showing you, or that, what was it, 640. By putting the spot meter on a Panasonic camera here and having it in exposure for that spot, it'll spot right here, and it'll show you where your exposure is, and you can bring it down if it's too, the exposure meter on your thing. If it's like 3 or 4 stops too high, bring it down. That's cool. But on the Sony cameras, what I do is I just put zebras on, and that's how I did today. And I have it set to 75%. And what I do is, well, I don't have it. It's over there. I have something that's really close to my skin shade, and I actually put it in the chair here. And it has the same reading. I just went around the house finding something that matches my skin tone. And I just went to the zebras until that my skin, and essentially my skin, would have a little bit of zebras dancing on it at 75%. And maybe I'll make a video of that. Once I brought that in with a little bit of zebras at 75% on my Sony a7 III dancing on my skin, and I bring it into DaVinci Resolve, it's hitting almost exactly at 640. So that's how I get proper skin tones with the Sony, most of all the Sony cameras, basically. So you don't need waveforms, but they're so much helpful because you can just see all the information in the scene.
Yeah, whenever I expose, and I'm using my Ninja V, which is a pain because you've got to carry it around. That's why I said I'd love Sony to incorporate that inside the camera itself. But it's then when I have to go back to exposing other ways, it's just so much harder than when I'm looking at the waveforms and I can see everything around me that are sort of working from that. And I love doing it that way. If you ever get a chance to use one of these cheaper, and there are some cheaper ones, I'm going to do a review of one actually in a few days, but there's some really good cheap ones now that have all those features in them that you can have a play around with it and learn how to do it. It certainly helps you a lot with your exposure. And like I said, there's no reason why you can't even incorporate it into your stills work as well. I mean, it's all basically the same principle.
Well, I did a video on how I do all my photography for many years of using zebras, even in my photography, because it's just so easy. If you put zebras on, this is a whole other topic, but I guess it's the same. If you put zebras on 100,
we can do that as a topic, Aaron.
Okay, we'll leave it for another time on how using zebras and everything else. But yeah, we'll stick with that.
All right, so let's go to Q&A. That was great. Really enjoyed that. I love that sort of stuff. That's the sort of stuff that I'd love to get into in the coming weeks, give some really sort of in-depth, Hopefully I didn't talk too much and stuff. I was trying to go fast because I don't want to bore people. But no, I think it's fascinating. I suppose the thing, too, is that people have to understand that in this industry particularly, that's why we're trying to get a mix of sort of the stills and the videography in this show, so we sort of have a bit for everyone. But I think you're going to find in the future, not in the near future, these are really going to be mixed where you need to learn both, and that's why shows like this may be such a big advantage,
Exactly.
All right, so let's go through some of this Q&A. I'll just put this on so that they can see some of these questions as we're looking at it. Let me just bring this up. So let me scroll down to see some things down here. Langston says, oh yeah, we can't see his screen or his mouse. Well, we fixed that in the end, thank God. We'll make sure we do it that way now because at least it works. And I think the solution with the audio that we couldn't hear with Aaron straight away was we could have played it through, turned his audio up, and then we could have heard it perhaps. There might be a way that it works every time.
Yeah, because I don't think I trust Skype. I mean, it worked perfect yesterday. Today did the same thing. Yeah.
I love Colin said, you guys cracked me up. It was a bit of funny. At least we had a laugh about it anyway.
I forget to laugh sometimes when I'm thinking about all this stuff, but yeah, it was great. I like it.
Let me just come down to here where people are asking questions. So if you have any questions, guys, please ask them. Like Mark's saying, it does his head in. Guys, if you don't do live streaming, you have no idea the issues when you're setting something up like this. Guy with the camera
and then working with all these things is like ridiculous.
I know, yeah.
And then trying to think about what to say.
Love it if you could give us a thumbs up. Brunuto, I think, says, are there different brands of catch lights what you were using? Yeah, look, you can use any light. I mean, you can use anything like most flashes come with a modelling light too that you can even use if you have to. So you could use the modelling light of that if you wanted to.
Just don't let it saturate your scene.
Yeah. So you can use any light like what Aaron showed. I've got this little thing that I'm going to put a review up probably later today. Or a better show come back because we're not on the questions. I've done a review of this, so you'd be able to use something like this if you wanted to get something close. But remember, these aren't designed to light up the whole image. They're not bright enough, but they'll do little things.
But they're good for catch lights.
Yeah, for catch lights and stuff like that. So have a look at this review when I put this up. This is a little Godox light. I've just about finished it. What else are people saying in here? And we went through the bit about the catch lights with the glasses. Like I said, you just tilt them up if you have to. EOJ Photography said, thanks for your advice on the gimbal. No problem at all. Carl said he prefers a single catch lights. Like I said, I don't mind dual catch lights. It's really personal taste, a lot of it.
Sometimes people have the under, what do you call that? The under lighting for like the chin area, but it creates a catch light. Hey, David, I'm using your tip. Look at the reflections in my glasses. If I just tip these just a little bit, look at that. Hey there.
Yeah, it's a perfect way of doing it. Yeah, it works every single time.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, and that's why particularly, if you're looking at doing male models or girls and stuff like that, or even weddings or whatever, and you're doing a shot where you're using lighting, remember to tilt the glasses down just that little bit.
Look, you can't even tell I tilted them.
No. Gilbert said, that works great, David O's a nice one. He's talking about the glasses, I think. I use that tip all the time for glasses, EOJ said, so he knew about it. Light is very important for makeup for sure. Michelle said, David, that's genius. I've always struggled with glasses. I usually just ask them to take it off. Now I'm going to try your trick once I get back to normal. Yeah, it definitely works. I don't have nothing there. Oreo said, I was shooting a snowy owl once and the sun was giving perfectly round catch lights on the owl's eyes. I think that's because Oreo said generally round lights aren't. And that's usually because you can't look at the sun, so you don't usually see round catch lights. It's usually things like reflections, like on the desk. If I shot this from the front, you'd see this white desk reflecting off my light. You'd also possibly see the light that's above me or a window. That's sort of what he was mentioning about, really. EOJ said if you have a modelling light or use continuous lighting, you can set your catch lights on with the glasses on. You can, yep. And then you could turn that catch light off, that light off, in other words. So if you're using your modelling light and that was a yellow light, you could have that on to see where the catch light's falling and then turn the modelling light off and then use the flash.
Oh, right.
What else have we got? Trying to see. The Sony A series doesn't have this. Yeah, I was talking about that they haven't got it. They have in their high-end cameras, like if they went to the FX9 and those cameras, they would have waveforms in them. Langston said...
I wish I had them in the Sony.
I know, yeah. Langston said the Black Magic 4K has been so fun in experimenting.
I love Blackmagic cameras. They're still to this day the best. Well, at least I don't know if they changed it since the original pocket camera and the forget the other one, the bigger one, the kind of weird shaped one. I love the raw quality of the images, the color.
Well, Keith also said the Panasonic SH1 has waveforms, or you could
Yeah, it
hook
does.
up a Atmos recorder. Yep. And that has waveforms as well. That's what I use, Keith. I use that Atmos V.
I love the waveforms. I wish they had. They should be built into every camera with the video feature.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
You know, just like a histogram.
So
is for
EOJ
photography.
said, I was not bored. I'm really trying to learn video. Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, cool.
Photomiac also said, I did a test to see the difference in light output between the AD200 and the AD300 at maximum settings. The difference is barely noticeable. Oh, interesting. So you're saying they're basically about the same price, power output, Ike. That's interesting that you're saying that. Gerald said, sorry, guys, I was busy helping my mum. Gerald here now. Oh, good to see you in here, Jerry. And that's about it. We've caught up. So if there's any last questions, guys, before we finish, post them quickly. Otherwise, we're going to head off. Now, remember, I will be back on Friday. I'll have a video posted maybe today or tomorrow because I've just about finished the review on this. It's a really good little light, actually.
Yeah, I'm
very
interested
similar
see
to
that.
the Pro Photo. Pro Photo have copied Godox for a change. This was really funny because I was looking at it and they've got a version of this which is very similar. But
They're like, we can copy too.
yeah, I know. They've copied them. Apart from the Pro Photo one works as a flash with the your iPhone. This doesn't. But I think the flash working from these is useless anyway. And I said that about the Pro Photo one. I thought it was useless. But stay tuned for that. Have you got anything coming up, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my my color grade of my Sony A7 III in-camera, what do you call it? Picture profile settings video up. It's basically, if you haven't been to my channel, it's Aaron J. Anderson on YouTube or Instagram. But it's basically taking a non-S-Log picture profile and getting it to where when you bring it into like DaVinci Resolve or whatever, it doesn't take much to get to where you want to go without having to use 800 ISO. Because if you don't know, if you use S-Log, you have to use 800 ISO. I was using HLG3 for a while, but the colors aren't right. So when I started filming a color chart, I don't have the other shirt on, but this is a different red than the sticker, and a shirt that I was wearing doing it was a different red. And the color chart that I use, I wanted to get out of camera being like it perfectly how my eyeballs see these colors, and then also getting them to not have those bright luminosity colors like I was telling you that digital usually tends toward, where film, or even if you're filming in digital, the colorist of motion pictures try to take the luminosity out of colors to have them look more deep, rich, and darker. So that's all kind of in camera. So hopefully I get that video up sometime this weekend.
Oh, cool. I look forward to seeing it. I'll have Aaron's channel down below so you can subscribe to Aaron if you haven't subscribed to him. Obviously, that'll be down below. Aaron usually downloads these and puts them on his channel as well, but eventually we'll end up sharing them between both channels again, like we did before.
Exactly.
The other thing, we'll be back Friday for the usual Sony Alpha news and rumors as well. Someone just mentioned, Keith also said, did we talk about the A7S? It's only really a rumor at this stage. We don't know, but we did mention that at the beginning of the show. You'll be able to go back and look at that. I'll talk more about that on Friday's show because that's more of the Sony Alpha news and rumors. Keb said, how far does the Sony 100 to 400 focuses, deciding between the 100 and 400 and the 200 to 600? I think if I was going to get one of those lenses personally, I would get the 200 to 600, but that's me. It's just I'd prefer the extra reach. But yeah, I mean, I've got the 70 to 200 or the 70 to 180 that I could get up to that difference in between. So I think if it was me, I'd be buying that one. Ike and Jerry were just talking about the AD300, the differences. Yeah. Ike was saying in real life, it doesn't make much difference.
The same, right?
Yeah, very close in real life. Jerry was saying that when he measured it with his light meter, it was about half a stop difference. Often though, in real life,
you won't see it.
You don't see it, yeah. And so I can understand probably what Ike's saying there.
Hey, Ike, did you do a video about that, or that's just your experience on your own?
He did do his video. He did a video the other day showing how it worked. And it looked good. I mean, the flash side of it looked good. I still think looking at those tests, and I'd love to know your opinion too, Ike, about that if you're looking at it, I suppose if you want that LED for very, very dark conditions, like we're talking about the Godox 8300, if you wanted the 8300 for really dark conditions using a little bit of sort of fill light or something like that, it would probably be worthwhile. But I think out of all of those, I think the 8400 may be the better one to get, unless you want to go really small, like be a very small compact size. Due to the prices, I think they're similar, aren't they? But the AD400 has much more power. But I'd love to know your opinion about that in the chat. Jerry and Ike may be able to answer about that. Ike also said, yeah, I agree, it's half a stop, but seeing half a stop in real use is not that noticeable. Yeah, and it's not. I mean, if you're talking like Aaron says, in real life, half a stop of light is not much at all. You don't notice that.
Especially if you bring it back just a little bit, now it's kind of even. It's like, you know.
Yeah, I think I'd probably, that's why I think I'd probably tend to go the 400, the AD400, to have that extra power to overpower the sun. If you could only afford one, it might be better to go for one that's a little bit more powerful than, say, the AD300. But you guys know the Godox flashes way more than I do, and I'd love your opinion about that, down below, so they may be able to chime in about that as well. So apart from that, Aaron, we've reached the west of the day. I just did say I'll never cut that modelling light on ever. I'll never cut that modelling light on ever again, except if I lose my keys. He said the modelling light was basically not worth it. So
just to find his keys in a dark car.
Yeah, nice. He found his keys in a dark car. All right, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video. Like I said, follow Aaron if you haven't followed him. Please give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks for stopping by.
I would say we were good together. I would say we had fun.
Do your head in. You. Okay, let me go end stream.